And welcome back inside the Edward Jones chatting cage on this Wednesday afternoon. It is Matt Waymeyer in today for JB, and our guest today completely shut down baseball's #1 offense in their own backyard. 8 innings, 2 hits against the Red Sox at Fenway Park in his most recent outing, no small feat. He is none other than right-hander Kyle Gibson of the Minnesota Twins. Kyle, we thank you for joining us on this Wednesday. And Kyle, you've made 85 starts so far in your big league career. Where does that performance against the Red Sox a few days ago rank for you personally?
I don't know. That seems to be one of the questions I've gotten quite a bit, and I think Fenway makes that start a little bit more special, doing it on the road, but in Fenway, such a historic park against such a good team right now. So I think it definitely ranks right up there.
Definitely turned some heads with that performance a couple of days ago, and the Red Sox were not sorry to see you leave town, that's for sure. So, Kyle, we're going to get things rolling here in just a few moments. And fans, as always, 3 ways to get involved. You can click on the Get In Line button to go one-on-one with Kyle Gibson. Make sure you got your headphones ready. If you're camera shy, that's okay. You can submit a question, too, through the MLB Fans app on your smartphone. I got mine right here. Access the Edward Jones chatting cage. Or you can go via Twitter using the hashtag chatting cage. And, Kyle, to Twitter we go to get things rolling on this Wednesday from Kirby34, no doubt a Twins fan, of course. He's asked simply, what is your all-time favorite baseball memory?
You know what? I think my debut would have to rank up there pretty high. It was a pretty special moment to get to do it here at Target Field in front of home fans and against the Kansas City Royals, where I went to Mizzou, so I spent 3 years around a lot of Royals and Cardinals fans. So to get to do it against the Royals here at home, that made that moment pretty special.
And we got a couple of Mizzou fans in our neck of the woods here at MLB.com, so they were no doubt happy to hear you say that. We're going to stay on social media, Kyle. This is from Corey_Han on the MLB Fans app. And good question here. Is there a unique story on why you chose to wear number 44?
It started back in college, and I wouldn't say it's too unique. It was just a number that they gave me like 4 numbers to choose from, I think. And I looked at all 4 of them, and it was a pretty easy choice. So I said, all right, well, I'll take 44. And I had that all 3 years of college. And then when I got to professionals, I think I had it my first year in Fort Myers with high A. Didn't have it in double A or triple A, I don't think. But then when I was told I was getting called up, they said they were going to give me 44.
I know players are usually pretty superstitious about the numbers they have, so go with what got you there, and that is the story behind number 44 for you, Mr. Gibson. Right now we've got a fan on the webcam ready to take their hacks inside the Edward Jones chatting cage, so fan, please state your name, your location, and your question for Twins right-hander Kyle Gibson.
Hello, my name is Bryce. I'm from Manchester, and I was wondering what type of pitches should a 12 to 14-year-old be throwing?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think obviously a fastball is pretty self-explanatory. For me, as a kid, my dad always made us throw a 2-seam fastball as well. I guess that's probably how my sinker got to where it is today. But then also I always threw a changeup from a young age, all the way through high school and even now. I didn't start throwing a breaking ball until I was probably, maybe a couple times at the age of 13, but more at the age of 14. I started throwing a breaking ball, and it was a curveball at that point. But I just played around with a couple different changeups up until that point. Split my fingers a little bit, threw a little bit of a splitter, not really a splitter, but it was just one way to slow the ball down and to change speeds. But with my dad being a pitcher, he was always trying to help me find ways to, mess up hitters' timing at a young age. That probably sounds weird, but I never was a guy that threw it right by guys, so I needed to have a little bit of a changeup and some pitches to throw some hitters' timing off.
Yeah, a terrific question there, as so much concern these days about what kind of strain do you put on your arm and at what age. So a great question there for pitchers entering their teen years, wanting to get involved in the game and learn the fine art of pitching, no doubt. Kyle, we go back to social media from the MLB Fans app. A good one from MBays11. They've got a Tigers screen logo. We're going to let that slide. He asks you, Kyle, what is your favorite ballpark to play in other than Target Field?
That's a good question too. I was lucky enough to pitch in St. Louis, and I say lucky enough because it was probably 30 miles from where my wife's family is. So last year that was the first time that probably 60 or so of her relatives got to see me pitch. So that mixed in with the great ballpark there in St. Louis, and it was a full house. and got to pitch against Michael Wacha that day and got to hit as well. So I think that whole experience probably put St. Louis right up near the top for me.
And Kyle, did you get a hit that day against Wacha, or do you recall?
I definitely recall. I did get a hit that day. It was an inside fastball that I was very late on, and I hit a base hit to right field.
It's a line drive in the box score, as the saying goes. Great for you that day in Busch Stadium. Kyle, right now we go back to the webcam. Another fan ready to take their hacks inside the chatting cage. So, fan, again, your name, your location, and your question for Kyle Gibson.
Hey, what's up, Kyle? I'm Matt from Long Island, New York. I'm a Yankee fan. I'm sorry. What was it like rehabbing from Tommy John surgery? Because I know some of my friends that actually rehabbed through that surgery.
Yeah, I mean, I was to the point that year in 2011 where my arm had been hurting for probably a month or so, and we thought it was a forearm strain. So honestly, when I found out I needed Tommy John, I was somewhat relieved. That might sound weird, but I was somewhat relieved because I actually found out what was wrong with my arm. And from that point, I knew it was going to be a year-long rehab. I'd already been through an elbow surgery when I was in high school, so I kind of had an idea of what rehab was going to entail. And for me, I feel like that instance in my life prepared me a whole lot more for the Tommy John. So it was definitely hard work. It was definitely tough to be away from the game for a year. But it was something that I guess I'm glad I went through. But it was something that was difficult and made me a better person and hopefully a better ball player for it.
What doesn't kill you, right, Kyle? Great stuff there. As
right.
Right now we go back to Twitter, and one of my all-time favorite Twitter accounts. This is Ploof It's Gone. Self-explanatory for any Twins fan. I love that. And they ask a really interesting question, Kyle. What hitter in history, if you could go back in time, would you most like to face?
That's a really good question. This list might be a long list. So I'm probably just going to have to pick a couple here. But, obviously you have the Babe Ruth and the Ted Williams. I think those are probably up top for just about everybody. To get the chance to face a historic hitter like that would be pretty cool. Maybe like a Reggie Jackson or a guy that I grew up watching, Ken Griffey, something like that. But, man, like I said, the list is probably too long for this show right now.
Yeah, we could do a whole separate show just based on that question alone. Kyle, right now, back to the webcam. Another fan ready to step inside the chatting cage. So, fan, again, state your name, where you're from, and your question for Twins right-hander Kyle Gibson.
Hi, Kyle. My name's Corey Cheever. I'm from Cannon Falls, Minnesota. And my question is, what pitchers in the MLB right now do you try to model yourself after?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I watched a whole lot of video in 2013 and 2014, and maybe to the point where I watched too much to try to figure out what guys were doing and try to be like them. The guy that I watched the most during that time was probably Rick Porcello with his sinker, slider, and changeup combo that he has. He had a really good mix going, and he still does, obviously. He's having a great year. But, the more that I've pitched and the more that I've kind of developed, I try to not, model myself too much after certain guys. I try to just make myself as good as I can be, because I feel like if I really found myself getting into the spot where I was trying to pitch like Rick Porcello, and his curveball's better than mine, his slider maybe be a little bit different, and I wasn't having the success that I needed to have, mainly because I probably wasn't pitching to my strengths as much. But if I had to compare myself to a guy stuff-wise, it'd probably be pretty similar to Porcello.
Once again, this is the Edward Jones chatting cage on this Wednesday. And with that, Kyle, we go to the EDJ question of the day. And this is a good one. What is the funniest or strangest thing, perhaps, that a fan has ever said to you?
Oh, my. Wow, that's put me on a spot a little bit. Man, I don't know. That's tough. You signed some weird stuff. That's probably some of the weirdest stuff, is especially maybe at Twins Fest. You got some pretty specialty items that come in, and you end up signing some interesting things there as the fans walk through the line.
Yeah, I bet there's some odd stories that come with some of those fan fests, no doubt. And Kyle, right now, back to the webcam. The fans coming fast and furious today as we have someone else ready to step inside the Edward Jones chatting cage. So, fan, again, you know the drill. Your name, your location, and your question for Kyle Gibson, please.
Hi, my name is Sean, and I live in Oregon, and I'm a pretty big Twins fan. And I was just wondering, what did you change going into Fenway with obviously the huge numbers with the Red Sox and their huge home run hitting numbers? And if you did change something, are you going to change it into your everyday plan?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Sean. Appreciate it. Thanks for being a Twins fan out in Oregon. That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's a tough lineup to navigate, that's for sure. And I'd already faced them once, a few weeks prior, so I was really able to go back and look at some video and kind of analyze what I did that day. And I think, that's probably the most adjustments that I would make is, from start to start, trying to figure out, what worked last time, what didn't work. I gave up a pretty big first inning, that first start against the Red Sox, so try to limit that first inning. But then also use that past video and the past at-bats to play into this next game. So whether it was against Hanley or Big Papi or Xander Bogaerts, you try to use the pitches that you've thrown in the past and make adjustments off of that. One thing that the Red Sox do so well is that they make adjustments not only from at-bat to at-bat, but they make adjustments in that single at-bat. So you're always trying to be one step ahead of them, and you're trying to make sure that it's a good balance of throwing to your strength, but also trying to make adjustments as they make adjustments.
Great stuff there, of course. And Kyle, right now, back to the MLB Fans app. A good one from Alejandro08. He wants to know, or perhaps she, Kyle, what was your favorite team in your childhood?
I had a couple that kind of switched. I grew up in Indianapolis, and obviously the nearest teams, the Reds, the Cubs, and the Cardinals probably. But I was a Reds fan for quite a while growing up because my dad was a big Red Machine fan as he was growing up. So those were the most games that we went to as we just drove down to Cincinnati, hour and 45 minutes, and spent a little time at the park. But then I had a friend, as I was coming up into high school, he got drafted by the Cubs. So I started being a Cubs fan. And then obviously, as I got drafted by the Twins, turned into a Twins fan.
The long and winding road of fan loyalty, of course, right there. So, Kyle, right now another fan is on the webcam and ready to tee things up inside the chatting cage. So, again, fan, please state your name, where you're from, and your question for Kyle Gibson, please.
My name is Will. I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. And who's your best friend on the Twins?
That's a good question, Will. Yeah, I mean, that's tough. Gosh, who's my one best friend, man? Man, I don't know that I got one. We got a pretty close group of guys here. It's tough to probably pick just one guy, but I talk quite a bit, during BP or sometime in the locker room with Trevor May. We're pretty close. A starting pitcher like Tommy Malone, all of us starting pitchers are pretty close. Kurt Suzuki, Dozier, those are probably, some of the ones that I hang out with the most.
Okay, and Kyle, great stuff today, and time flies when you're having fun. Thanks to all the fans for their questions, and again, our thanks to Kyle Gibson. And Kyle, hope you had fun inside the Edward Jones chatting cage, and we hope we can do it again soon. Good luck to you for the rest of the season.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, once again, Kyle Gibson, our guest inside the Edward Jones chatting cage. Be sure to join us again for the next installment right here live on MLB.com.